Forever. Dog.
Oh, yeah. If you know me, you probably know that Weekend at Bernie's is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is Brett, by the way, the Georgia Movie Dawg. And this happened recently, my love for Weekend at Bernie's. This isn't a movie that I grew up with, which would normally be someone's caveat for saying that Weekend at Bernie's is one of their favorite movies of all time. They would say, well, yeah, I'm just nostalgic for it. You know, it's one of those movies I'm nostalgic for. I proudly have no such caveat. There are no asterisks on my love of Weekend at Bernie's, no ironic winks. This is a movie that I love sincerely. It's a movie I saw for the first time a few years ago as part of Weekend at Bergman's, our Patreon bonus podcast. And as you can tell, not only was it the inspiration, half of the inspiration for the title of that podcast, it was also featured in the very first episode when it went toe-to-toe with Ingmar Bergman's classic The Seventh Seal, two movies about death, two meditations on death. And Weekend at Bernie's won because, in my opinion, it is the better movie. It's directed by Ted Kotcheff, who also directed Wake and Fright, the Australian new wave classic, and also First Blood, the first Rambo movie, the best Rambo movie, and it's not even close. So no fucking slouch, Ted Kotcheff. No, this is not some sort of a work for hire company man. Ted Kotcheff is a real fucking director, and I think that in his hands, Weekend at Bernie's became and is one of the great satires of America in the 1980s. It's up there with, American Psycho, They Live, Repo Man, Wall Street. It is one of the great satires of the greed is good generation, one of the great satires of Reagan's America. It's a movie about a social circle that is so psychotically narcissistic, they don't realize that at the center of their circle, the point at which all lines intersect is a corpse, is a literal corpse. There is a reminder in their midst of their own mortality, and they can't see it. They can't see it when it's right in front of their faces. It's a movie that is as deeply existential as it is deeply stupid, and that is a winning combination, in my opinion. That is a deliriously winning combination. And one of the reasons that I love Weekend at Bernie's is because I've always loved the accidental in movies a little more than the intentional. And I love the intentional. I love when a just craftsman just goes to work. I love intentional craft. I love the Mona Lisa and the Sistine Chapel. But I love the accidental as well, and particularly in movies. In fact, I think it's one of the great things about movies. And when I'm saying the accidental, I don't mean that Ted Kotcheff didn't know what he was doing. There was obviously some very intelligent, very talented people working on this movie. That's why it's so good. But I do think that Weekend at Bernie's stumbles into some accidental profoundness in a way that means more to me than the intentional profoundness of a movie like The Seventh Seal. There are just some, throughout the history of movies, there are some cinematic images that end up taking on a life of their own, transcending themselves, rippling out a little farther than they were probably intended to. And for me, the corpse of Bernie Lomax, which I am here dressed as on this episode of Movies Baby, and I'll explain why. Been sleeping in this for a couple nights now. I refuse to take it off. The corpse of Bernie Lomax is one of those iconic cinematic images for me, one of those almost accidentally iconic cinematic images. It's on par with with death from a seventh seal as a cinematic image of mortality. But where Bernie surpasses death for me is the fact that his body is dragged through the Long Island Sound off the back of a speedboat with his head hitting against the buoys and going dunk, dunk, dunk. That is something that death in the Seventh Seal doesn't do. Wouldn't dare to do. Wouldn't be caught dead doing. And yeah, Bernie can play your game, but you can't play Bernie's game. And that's why Weekend at Bernie's is better than the Seventh Seal. And because I believe that, you better believe that I fell off my frickin' rocking chair when I heard that the one, the only TERRY KISER, that's right, the actor who portrays Bernie Lomax in Weekend at Bernie's, TERRY KISER himself was going to be at Monsterpalooza this year. Well, actually, the son of Monsterpalooza, which is the spin-off version of the highly successful horror convention Monsterpalooza that they do every year here in L.A. Because in addition to being in Weekend at Bernie's, which is I would say it's certainly a horror movie in its way, TERRY KISER was also in the more traditional horror movie Friday the 13th, Part 7, as Dr. Cruz. And so when I heard that one of my heroes was doing paid photo ops down at the Burbank Airport Marriott, a mere hop, skip, and a jump from my house and from our studio, you better believe I ponied up the cash and got dressed up in my best Bernie Lomax costume, which I have yet to take off, days later. And I took a photo with TERRY KISER. There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. There it is if you're watching the video version of this show. If you're not, let me get in the light there. If you're not, you can see this on our Instagram. But also, check out the video version on YouTube, youtube.com/@moviesbaby with 5 Ys. There we are. Just a couple of swells. I am trying to do, as you can see there, I am trying to mimic the classic Bernie Lomax dead grin, sort of half smile, head sort of falling into, caving in on itself. I mean, this is a body. This is why I love Weekend at Bernie's. Ha, funny joke. It's on the poster. He's dead. They're carrying him around. This is a body in decay. This is an ex-human. This is a body who has ceased to live, has ceased to think. All the memories that made it Bernie Lomax have evaporated. This is a body in gaseous decay at this point. And so I'm trying to express that. I will say, when they took the photo, I thought for a second that I had blown it because holy shit, do they get you in and out of these photo ops real quick, real fast. I had been standing in line for 15, 20 minutes, not too bad. And I was practicing the look. I had my phone out. I had the Weekend at Bernie's poster pulled up. I was trying to get the look exactly right. I was practicing it. And I was so ready. And then you step behind the curtain, and there he is in the flesh, TERRY freaking KISER. And I tell you what, this man was a saint, ladies and gentlemen. This man was a saint. A saint. When he saw me, he lit up like a Christmas tree, this guy. He said, "Oh, you look amazing, my dear boy. Come here. Come here." He was so nice. I did stupidly think, when you hear that reaction in real life, it's the start of a, minimum 30-minute conversation. If someone says, "Oh, my dear boy, come here. Come here. It's been too long." At a paid photo op, that's the entire conversation. TERRY KISER pulled me in. A real, honestly, a convention pro. You could tell by the vice grip he put on my shoulder and dragged me close to him. Terry had prepped the photographers. He said, when these people get shoulder to shoulder with me, take the photo. That's your cue. Take the photo and then get them out of here. Get him the hell out of my sight. I'm just kidding. He honestly could not have been nicer. He was so sweet. But oh man, they get you in and out fast. And so I come in, I'm deer in the headlights with Terry Kiseer himself, dressed as his most iconic character. He pulls me in, and I hear from the photographer somewhere in the distance, it's hard to see in these glasses, I hear the photographer say 3, 2, 1, but in the span of like 1.5 seconds. Like they're not counting. It's a little misleading because it's not 3 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1. It's 3, 2, 1. And in the span of that split second, I try to get into my Bernie look. I feel like there's two possibilities here. I think I'm halfway into it. I think I'm like about halfway into it here. Or a very possible explanation, this is just how I looked. Maybe I might have not even been into the look yet. This might just be me. This might just be what it looks like when I meet Terry Kiseer dressed as Bernie Lomax. Dead, as the kids say. Dead. Skull emoji. Weekend at Bernie's, one of my favorite movies of all time. You don't believe me? Check my frickin' Letterboxd 4, okay? At BERNIELOMAX on Letterboxd. Check it out. I don't lie. I'm honest. It's movies, baby. Roll the theme song.
The backbone of this country is the independent film critic. The power of movies must be protected. The best thing about movies is the feeling they give. It's a feeling I want to feel every day. Movies, baby! Movies, baby! Movies, baby! Movies, baby!
I love a breakfast.
Welcome to Movies, baby. I'm Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dawg. Go Dogs, and I'm coming to you live from the San Fernando Valley, baby. The Philly movie freak, my trusted co-host, is still on paternity leave. Much love to him and his beautiful family. We'll see the Philly movie freak again soon. This weekend, I saw Tron Ares in theaters, starring Jared Leto. I saw Roofman, starring Chan Man Tate Man, and I can't wait to talk about both of these movies. But first, you know how we do it. Show me the money. And by money, I mean the weekend box office returns, baby. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see what kind of wreckage Taylor Swift left in her wake this week after she blew into movie theaters last weekend for 3 days only, swallowed up all the premium format screens, and refused to show trailers before her 80-minute trailer for Life of a Showgirl. At least show a frickin' Roofman trailer, Taylor. Show a frickin' Roofman trailer, Taylor. This week's box office is on you, Taylor Swift. This is on you. Look at these numbers. Pathetic. Look what you've done, Taylor. Look how you massacred my boy. My son. My eldest son. Look what you've done to his body. Tron Ares didn't even crack 35 million domestic. Roofman didn't crack 10. I'm just kidding. Tron Ares was never not going to be a bomb. That was already in the cards. That was already written. Maybe it would have done a little bit better if you'd stuck a frickin' trailer for it before frickin' the movie about the life of a showgirl. Just show a frickin' Tron Ares trailer, Taylor. Tron Ares made 35 million domestic, tacked on another 27 million internationally for a worldwide opening weekend of 60,500,000. Who are we kidding? This thing was DOA. They might think this thing was going to make a boatload of money. This thing was DOA. What was the idea here in retrospect? What was the big plan here, Disney? A surprising sort of unforced error here from Disney. Hey, America, you know how you love Tron? I mean, sort of. Yeah, it's cool. I like that. I mean, the original Tron. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. One of the first movies to use CGI, and yeah, it's cool. Jeff Bridges. Yeah. Oh, okay. Was expecting a little more enthusiasm. But you really love Jared Leto, right? Like you love him a lot, right? No, we do not. No, we do not. Less and less, in fact, with every passing day. Huh. Well, shit. Do you like Greta Lee? Love Greta Lee. Wait, you didn't put her in this, did you? Oh, no. It's okay, Disney. It's okay. All right, here we go. We can salvage this. Do you have any good marketing ideas? You know, like any big viral marketing ideas? You bet your ass we got a great. I should switch these voices up so you know. I'm doing a little bit right now. This is Disney trying to justify Tron Ares. It's confusing because my voice is the same for both characters. This is Disney now speaking. You bet your ass we got a good marketing idea. Get this. It's a thing where Saquon Barkley is riding to his football game on a light cycle, on an iconic light cycle. And then when he gets to the stadium, he hands off the light cycle to the one, the only Mr. Beast. And then Mr. Beast says, "Let's do this." And then he rides the light cycle to another football stadium. What do you think of that? And this is like a promo before a football game? Yes, it is. It ran once. And this is a real thing you did. This is a real thing we did. Cost a lot of money. Okay. And speaking of money, what's the production budget on Tron Ares? $180 million. Oh, no. That was a short play called Why Did Tron Ares Bomb at the Box Office? Roofman, though, let's give Roofman a break. Roofman, it's not a hit. It brought in $8 million, but cost less than $20 million. I mean, Paramount can't be too pissed about this. This is assuming that David Ellison, the new owner of Paramount, even knows what Roofman is. My money says he doesn't. Roofman is a movie that feels like it was made to get Channing Tatum nominated for a Golden Globe. It's one of those movies. And that is not, I want to be clear, that is not a slight. That is not a slight. Wait for my review coming later in this episode. That just feels like it was the purpose of Roofman. And it might very well succeed in that purpose, but nobody thought this was going to make a lot of money, right? This is good. $8 million opening weekend for a little movie that's not a horror movie. That's good. That's really good. That's more than the Smashing Machine made domestic. Similar kind of situation. Smaller movie, big star. Now, next week, we have a very interesting movie to track in terms of box office returns. And that movie is called Black Phone 2 from the beloved but struggling horror production company Blumhouse Productions, starring Ethan Hawke. This is the sequel to, obviously, to The Black Phone. And the question to track is, will Blumhouse finally get a freaking win at the box office after this very uncharacteristic run of not just box office stinkers, but critical disappointments as well? Megan 2.0 dropped, The Woman in the Yard, Wolfman. Jeez, Blumhouse is on an ebb right now. Is at a low point right now. They do have Five Nights at Freddy's 2 coming out in December. That's an almost guaranteed bankable hit for them. The first Five Nights at Freddy's being their last real breakout hit back in October 2023. So I really don't think Jason Blum wants to be in the position where Blumhouse is just the Five Nights at Freddy's studio. You know, he wants to continue to be known for a brand, not for specific properties. And so in that case, this is a really important movie for Blumhouse, Black Phone 2. I mean, Jason Blum really needs Black Phone 2 to hit, I think, in order to maintain a heartbeat over at Blumhouse and to maintain an identity and not just become another property-dependent, franchise-dependent studio. They were kind of the alternative to that for quite a while. And I know they have a lot of franchises, Insidious, etc., but they grew them internally. And they've given us a lot of variety over the years. I love Blumhouse. I'm rooting for them. I hope Black Phone 2 hits. And it might. We'll see. We'll see. Now, let's talk about this week's major new releases, starting with the aforementioned Tron Ares. This is the third film in the Tron series and a direct sequel to 2010's Tron Legacy. Almost too much of a direct sequel, if I'm being honest. Seeing as I don't think Tron Legacy was a movie that really captured the popular imagination. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It's not a movie that captured my imagination, not a movie that I think about all that much. It came out 15 years ago. But in this movie, in Tron Ares, there's a lot of direct references to it. There's a point where they show a photo of Garrett Hedlund and Garrett Hedlund's character from Tron Legacy. And my audience kind of collectively went, oh, yeah. Oh, right. He was in Legacy, wasn't he? Okay. Tron Ares is directed by Joachim Ronning from a screenplay by Jesse Wigato. Joachim Ronning, interesting little career, had a breakout hit in 2012 with the Norwegian movie Kon-Tiki, which was a big box office hit in Norway. It also got nominated for an Oscar for Best International Movie. But since then, he's just been toiling away in the Disney content mines. He directed Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, the fifth installment in the Pirates franchise. And he directed Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, the sequel to Maleficent, and now add the third Tron movie to his resume. So I don't know, maybe Disney's got some dirt on this guy. I don't know why his only option for directing after he had that nice little sort of breakout hit Kon-Tiki, his only options have been Disney franchise movies. But, you know, it's tough out there. Tron Ares stars Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Jodie Turner-Smith, Hassan Minhaj, Ettore Castoro, and Gillian Anderson. With Jeff Bridges, of course, coming back in a tiny cameo. And to be completely honest, he was kind of hitting the Big Lebowski affect a little too hard for a Tron movie. Somebody should have told him, "We're doing Tron today, Jeff. We're doing Tron. You're slipping into dude a little bit too much. This is Tron. Yes, yeah, we'll be done by 4. Jeff Bridges had somewhere to be that day. Now, Disney's been trying to make this follow-up to Tron Legacy for about 15 years now. And my big question is, to bring back the big question from the box office section, why? Why? There couldn't have been a huge financial incentive, particularly not at Disney, considering all the properties they have under their aegis now, particularly after their acquisition of 20th Century Fox. I mean, they have nothing but winning franchises to choose from. You know, the first Tron, I mean, because Tron has never... It's one of those movies where, like, the numbers don't look bad, but it's also never been this, like, clear, unqualified financial success. The first Tron did pretty good at the box office for 1982. I think it made like 50 million, 50, but was still considered a box office disappointment by Disney because of not only how much money it cost, but also how much the budget. It was one of those movies where the budget kept inflating because they're dealing with this brand new technology, and it's very hard to price out a brand new technology ahead of time to get an accurate estimate of how much it's going to cost. So it's one of those movies that it was better than it could have been. I don't think it was considered a complete bomb, but was just, you know, it just racked up so many expenses before it got into theaters that it was hard to consider it a box office success. And then Tron Legacy in 2010 made $400 million at the worldwide box office, you know, which is pretty good. pretty good. But that's in 2010. That's at the height of franchise movies. And to give you an idea of that, it was only the 14th biggest movie of the year in 2010, 14, which is, again, good, but there were a lot of other Disney properties above it on the list that year. It made less money than The King's Speech, to give you an idea. And that's the kind of performance that you think would make Disney go, all right, I feel like we almost got away with one here with Tron Legacy. Let's just take the win and maybe not make any more Tron movies. I think it feels like we kind of got away with one here. I don't think there's another one in the tank for the Tron franchise. So if there isn't really a convincing financial motive, surely they must have had a hell of a story on their hands here. Someone must have cooked up a Tron installment that just had to be told. Surely there was a script that made Bob Iger go, if I don't see another Tron movie before I die, then Disney has made a terrible mistake. This is a story that must be told. Wrong. Tron Ares is a aggressively unremarkable movie. It's barely there. It's barely happening before your eyes as you're watching it. And it takes one of the most basic sci-fi plots imaginable. It's a movie about a robot that starts to feel human emotion. What are these feelings that I am feeling? Empathy response triggered. And that's a plot that can work great. I'm not knocking rote plots. I fucking love genre and rote plots. Ex Machina, The Iron Giant. The list goes on. And I don't know. You're gonna come at me because I don't know if Iron Giant is technically a robot. He comes from outer space, right? But you know what I'm saying. And yet, even though this is a very familiar premise, Tron Ares delivers probably the most bland, generic version of the robot feeling human emotions that I've ever seen in my life. It's shocking. It's shocking how meaningless it all feels. And one reason for that is it doesn't even execute the beats right. This is paint by numbers, Tron Ares. It gets into that premise way too abruptly. From the first moment that we see Jared Leto's robot character, Ares, the eponymous Ares, he's already starting to blur the line between human and robot. In the first scene, he's already doing a little bit of raindrops keep falling on my head. Better get an umbrella, corporate board members. Ha ha ha, they all chuckle. Ha ha ha. But really, though, what am I feeling? It's like, no. You have to establish him as evil robot more convincingly and more thoroughly first, and then do the change later. Did you not get the manual for the genre that you're doing? When you're doing paint by numbers, you should at least be able to paint by fucking numbers. That's the easy part of painting by numbers. The hard part is making it feel fresh and original, but the painting by numbers part just should come with the territory. Why are you screwing up basic beats, Tron Ares? Give me Stone Cold Robot before you give me softening into human emotion robot, so that I can make sense of the transition. But when you're not even doing paint by numbers right on a paint by numbers movie, whoo, baby, it's going to be a long night at the movies. Now, to be fair to Joachim Ronning, the director, a lot of the blame for this also falls on the shoulders of our worst American actor, Jared Leto. Good God, does this creep suck at acting. Good God, is he bad at acting. Jared Leto's acting style is like a is it's like he's confessing. It's like a confession. And what I mean by that is that Jared Leto brings to his performances, not just Tron Ares, but the vast majority of his recent work in the cinematic medium, Jared Leto brings to his performances the emotional and psychological maturity of a person who has spent his adult life trying to seduce teenagers. It's like it's like right there on the screen. You just like see it in his performance. He's adult. He's an idiot. He messes up every line read. He doesn't bring a single ounce of nuance or resonant human emotion to this role. His "I'm a robot" shtick feels like he came up with it on the car ride to set the first day. Nothing he does or say feels honest or relatable or interesting. And sure, the dialogue is very cliched. It's very bland. It's very one-dimensional. He's just over and over saying shit like, there must be more to life than this. And yeah, that's bad, but you're also like, why can't you sell it a little bit better, though? It's not a great line, but it's not like an impossible line to pull off. Particularly when you got Greta Lee here. I mean, Greta Lee's getting shitty dialogue, too. She's getting worse dialogue because she's the boring protagonist. And she is, at least, because she's a great actor, just finding at least the slightest bit of nuance in her line reads. Bringing some relatable humanity to this movie, even if just in little bits and pieces here and there. Because she's a good actor. Jared Leto, you are not a good actor. I have no idea how many... I can't believe how many swings this dude has gotten for how unlikable he is and how bad at acting he is. But who knows? Between this and Morbius, maybe we are finally, at long last, on the back nine of Mr. Leto's cinematic career. We'll see. We'll see. Gillian Anderson, like I said, is in this. She's completely wasted. How dare you? Evan Peters, who I like, very forgettable in this, as the little Silicon Valley Nepo baby running amok. Jodie Turner-Smith is really cool, looks really cool. But then you find out she's the villain robot, and you're like, Tron Ares, you want me to root for Jared Leto over Jodie Turner-Smith? No fucking way. No fucking way. There's no David Warner character in this installment of Tron. David Warner, one of my favorite scene stealers from the first Tron movie, the great David Warner from The Omen and other things. In fact, you don't have a single scene stealer in this movie. I want you to imagine that. A movie like Tron Ares, you got to have a couple, at least one scene stealer. Some fun little character actor just nailing a scene. There's not a single one. Gillian Anderson isn't given enough to do. She's just constantly like, cut it out, son. Turn that machine off, son. This is your last warning. Greta Lee would have been the scene stealer, except she has to play the boring protagonist. This movie's bad. The VFX team certainly has some big moments in this movie. There's some cool VFX, some cool visual effects. That team is doing their job, which you would expect from a Tron movie. It basically invented computer-generated visual effects, at least for big-budget movies, big popcorn movies. But in Tron Ares, the way that the VFX is integrated into the movie is, same old story. It's just as sloppy and rote and inelegant as we've come to expect from movies, studio movies in 2025. The VFX ultimately feels like it's being used as a replacement for the movie instead of a complement to the movie. And that's a waste of some fun VFX here and there. I mean, it's not amazing, but some fun VFX here and there. The one high point of Tron Ares it's a little out of place in a movie this dumb. But the one high point is there is an original Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. And it's, I mean, look, I'm not, it's not, it's also a little, the music is a little rote for Trent Reznor and the gang. It feels like the slightest bit like a Nine Inch Nails cover band, but I love that sound. And particularly for a sci-fi movie, when those doomy, gloomy synths start pumping, I can't even listen to me. I have no freaking tempo. It's cool. It sounds good. But that's just the exception that proves the rule in this case, which is that this movie is not good. 2 stars. 2 stars. Y'all watching Task on HBO? 2 stars. Outside of Philly accent, Delco accent. That's 1 star for the soundtrack. Not 1 star for my accent. That's 1 star for the soundtrack, and another star for the fact that another thing I liked in this movie, Tron Ares, is that when the robots die, they scream the most terrifying Wilhelm scream that you've ever heard in your life. It's a scream of intense pain and a deep fear of the unknown wrapped into one little package. It's a really good scream. It's actually kind of scary, and it throws you off the first time you hear it. It is, I was noticing when I rewatched the original this weekend, it's kind of borrowed from the original. When Jeff Bridges, the computer-generated Jeff Bridges, dies for the first time, he doesn't go, he doesn't, it's not a howl death. It's not a, oh, the humanity robot death. It is a death, and it's very cool. I like it a lot. It's a nice little detail. So that's 1 star for the soundtrack and 1 star for the scream that the robots make when they die. 2 stars. Let's talk about Roofman. Roofman is based on the life of real-life spree robber Jeffrey Manchester. That's his real name. Great name. And you would think, why wouldn't you just go by, well, he has to have an alias because he's in hiding from the police. But how are you going to top, Jeffrey Manchester already sounds like an alias. How are you going to top it? The alias he went with in real life and in the movie, John Zorn. No notes. Amazing. Jeffrey Manchester, you are my hero. John's avant-garde musician John Zorn was his alias. Now, Manchester, what did he do? He robbed a bunch of McDonald's. He was in the military, hyper-intelligent guy. They don't really go too much into his military career, but it seems like he got maybe a little fucked up by the military, as you would expect, as is normal. And then he left the military and then didn't know what to do with himself, didn't know how to apply himself, couldn't find consistent work. He starts robbing McDonald's, but he had a very specific method. He would go in through the roof, hence the name, Roofman. He eventually got caught, sent to jail. He was also famously very polite when he would rob McDonald's. Very polite man. Just here for the corporate money. This will all be over fast. He then broke out of jail. That's where the main plot of our movie picks up. He broke out of jail and ended up hiding inside a Toys R Us for months. This is a great story. And we also have an incredible cast here in Roofman. We got Channing Tatum in the lead as Roofman, Kirsten Dunst, the great Kirsten Dunst, one of our great actors, Peter Dinklage, Ben Mendelsohn, Lakeith Stanfield, Juno Temple, Melanie Diaz, Uzo Aduba. And it's one of those movies where you don't meet everyone all at once. So every 15 minutes, you just find yourself going, oh, shit, Ben Mendelsohn's in this movie? It's great. I love it. You just keep getting hit by great character actors in nice little roles. And why is that? How did they get such a great cast for this movie? Because everybody said, I got to work with Derek Cianfrance once in my career, baby. That's right. This movie was written and directed by Derek Cianfrance. Kurt Gunn also has a writing credit on this. Now, this movie is an interesting tonal departure for Derek Cianfrance. If you've seen his previous movies, Blue Valentine, The Place Beyond the Pines, Sound of Metal, you know his thing. He's the sad guy. He makes sad movies that I like a lot. I like Derek Cianfrance's movies. They're gritty, they're visceral, they're often very moving, and they're almost always, in every second, very sad. Roofman, on the other hand, is much lighter in tone, a little goofier in tone. I'd say it's cast more in the image of Channing Tatum than in the image of Derek Cianfrance. But that also needs an asterisk. I would say it's cast in Channing Tatum's image on the surface. But then as the movie gets going, it ends up being a really nice blending of Channing Tatum and Derek Cianfrance, of those two styles, of the style of a Channing Tatum movie and the style of a Derek Cianfrance movie. Because it is gritty in its way. It's definitely not like a glossy comedy. It's gritty. It feels real. You feel like you're in a McDonald's. You feel like you're in a Toys R Us. It feels like North Carolina in the 90s. This feels like the 90s. And it is about, like Derek Cianfrance's previous movies, it's about people who have gotten, fucked up by life in one way or another and are on this sort of tragic spiral, trying to get off it, trying to save their lives somehow. Roofman is just sweeter at heart. It's not going for the jugular quite as hard as Blue Valentine. And it's doing comedy. It is doing comedy. And it's doing romantic comedy in scenes. It's doing Channing Tatum-friendly material. But overall, I think Cianfrance does a really good job of approaching that kind of material on his own terms. Because this isn't a movie. This isn't that kind of movie where a sad sack indie director will just do a complete 180 and make like a pure popcorn movie. This isn't Ben Wheatley doing Meg 2: The Trench. This is a movie that fits very well within Cianfrance's filmography. It's a departure, but it's not an anomaly or an outlier. And again, I thought he did a really good job of layering in some comedy and some lightness into his tales of woe. The comedy definitely didn't compromise the gravity of the movie. I related to all these characters. I felt for these characters. I was rooting for Channing Tatum. All of those sort of boxes that this kind of movie had to check, it checked those boxes. It got its claws in me. It was drawing me forward. I was into it. I was enjoying what I was seeing. I was rooting for the characters. It felt like a throwback. And I know it's not an indie. It's Miramax, but they're owned by Paramount. But it felt like a little throwback indie in a way. One of those sort of charming, funny, sad indies that they used to make about 20 of every year. It felt like that. It was a nice throwback. The cast is all incredible, as I said. I also want to shout out the crew. A lot of great work by the crew on this movie. Shout out to the costume designer, Aaron Bannock, and the whole hair and makeup department. Too many names to mention there. But the hair and makeup and costume, they came up with some incredible looks for Channing Tatum. It wasn't too garish, but it was very unique and specific. They were going for what would I call Channing Tatum's look in this movie? It was like North Carolina J.C. Penney was sort of Channing Tatum's look in this movie. He keeps that thin little goatee the whole movie, which you might have seen in the trailer, which is very funny to keep for the whole movie because it's his most distinctive identifier. Not many people have the thinnest goatee on planet Earth. In fact, only one person does, and it's Jeffrey Manchester. So you think that when you're going into hiding from the police after having escaped from jail, you would alter the most distinctive element of your physical appearance. He does not, which is a very bold move and kind of part of his whole strategy, which is just to hide in plain sight and wait for time to do what time does, which is make people forget, which is not me being poetic. It's the movie being poetic. That is a theme of the movie, expressed by the movie, and it's a very interesting theme. that Jeffrey Manchester believes if he just waits in this Toys R Us for long enough, the media cycle will move on, the police will move on, people will move on, and he will be forgotten, and being forgotten will be his salvation, which is nicely summarizes the movie. It's a funny little point, but it's a sad little point too. That the only way that he can survive is to be forgotten by everyone, even by his family. And his inability to be forgotten, the fact that he is just a little too memorable, ends up being his downfall. Also, shout out to the production designer. Some incredible replica work. Incredible replicas of Toys R Us, Blockbuster, McDonald's. I felt like I was back in my southern suburban hometown in the 90s watching Roofman. Also, shout out to Christopher Bear from the band Grizzly Bear, who did the score here. Christopher Bear's getting a nice little career going as a film score composer. He also did the score for Past Lives. We spoke about Greta Lee earlier in this episode. The excellent Past Lives from 2023. Was that right? 2 years ago? So Christopher Bear doing great work here again. And shout out to the DP, the director of photography, Andrzej Parek, who had previously shot Cian France's movie Blue Valentine, as well as Half Nelson and Mississippi Grind, 2 movies by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden that I really like that have a similar aesthetic. Derek Cian France and Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, almost overlapping Venn diagrams stylistically. I guess ever slightly, I don't know. I mean, almost like the same people in a way. Very interesting. What is that style? What would we call that style? We need a name for this subgenre. We had to come up with a name for mumblecore. This crew needs a name. Parek shot this movie on 35 millimeter. They filmed it in and around Gastonia, North Carolina. You can definitely tell the location shot really pays off. Really pays off. All this is to say, I enjoyed Roofman. I liked it a lot. I'm going to give it 3 stars. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good movie. I think Channing Tatum deserves his Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical. Give it to the man. I think he's deserved it here. I liked Roofman. I think it's worth your time. I think you should go see it. Next week, we already mentioned in the box office section, we got Black Phone 2 coming at us, baby. Black Phone 2. Going to see Black Phone 2. Going to tell you how it did, not just at the box office, but also what I thought of it. If I thought it was a good movie, a bad movie, a all right movie. Could it be a gem? Could it be great? Or could it be very bad, terrible, or even a fucking disgrace? Tune in to next week's Movies, baby, to find out. Also going to try to do, if we can, a little indie roundup because holy shit, or I should say award season roundup, because we are getting into award season. It's happening fast. History of Sound came out. After the Hunt came out. Anemone with Daniel Day-Lewis, directed by his son, came out. Lots of award season movies coming out. I'm going to try to check out a couple of those, and we'll do a little award season roundup, see how all these award season hopefuls are shaping up. That's next week. And then this week, depending on his schedule, the Freak and I are going to try to get together to do... we got to get back on Weekend at Bergman's. Obviously, that train, our 1980 season, was halted a little bit by the arrival of the Freak's beautiful new baby girl. Once again, congrats to the whole family there. We got to get back on our Weekend at Bergman's train. We'll try to do that starting this week. We will try very hard. All I can do is try my best and be honest. And that's what we do every week on Movies Baby. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing to the Patreon. We love you. We'll see you again soon. Bye.